industrial chiller control. So this is PNID diagram of the chiller, one type of the industrial chiller. Okay, not maybe in detail, but yes, must many things are also mentioned over here. So if I will highlight you some of the introductory part, then you can see that the evaporator is there. The output of evaporator in this particular side, you can see it is connected to the compressor. Okay, so here two-stage compressor is used, and the output of compressor is given to the condenser, and the output of the condenser is enters into this particular expansion wall. Okay, this is expansion wall. This expansion wall is special type of wall that act as a economizer and receiver also. Okay, so these particular expansion walls are there in the economizer and receiver unit, and then it enters into the evaporator again. You can see that in the evaporator there is an incoming line from the building or any industrial building, or there is a exit line of the coolant also, that is also there in the evaporator. And you can see in the condenser part the cooling tower lines are not mentioned. So when we focus on this basic block diagram, you can see that there is additional line you can see from the condenser that actually enters into de-superheater also, and the same can be entered through a wall into evaporator also. So these particular additional things more in detail, that is to improve the efficiency. Okay, so these things are there for the improvement of efficiency. So there is a hot gas bypass line. Okay, this hot gas bypass line used in this superheater also, and it can be then enters into expansion wall. Okay, so this expansion wall, and then again it can be enters into evaporator. So you can also see that the same bypass line is again connected to evaporator. This is actual line from this expansion wall, but this is additional line provided from the hot gas bypass. So this is basic diagram. Now when we try to understand the different symbols they are used in this particular picture, so I can say you that this is XLS. Okay, so what is this XLS? What is this XLS? This XLS is actually the suction vane limit switch. XLS, suction vane limit switch. So this suction vane limit switch is connected by this symbol XLS. Okay, then if I say you that TSL6, where is TSL6? You can see here TSL6 at the bottom. This TSL6 is connected in the refrigerant water to the users here. So what is the purpose of this? This actually measures the temperature of the refrigerant that passes through the building. Means whether it is at the maintain level or is that get fridge. Okay, the freezing, whether that happens, whether the freezing is happen over there. So continuously that get measured by this TSL. What is TSL? That is refrigerator water temperature measurement. Okay, so this is TSL. Then we can say that FSL also is there. FSL3. Where is FSL3? If we find out FSL3, so you can see here FSL3. So what is this FSL3? So that is refrigerator water flow measurement. You can see the DPT type of arrangement over here to measure the flow rate. Okay, so the flow rate is get measured. Which flow rate is measured? The refrigerator water flow rate is measured after the pump. So this P-1 is actually the pump, and this is pressure flow measurement. Then there is a TSL7 also. The purpose is same. What is purpose of TSL7? That is that is connected in the evaporator. You can see this is connected inside the evaporator. So it measures the evaporator temperature. It measures the evaporator temperature. So T. So T stands for temperature measurement in the evaporator. Then there is a PSH also, PSH. So PSH4, for example, in this particular condenser, you can see that PSH4 is connected. PSH4. So what this PSH4? That actually measures the discharge pressure of the compressor, because the compressor output is connected over here to the condenser, and it is connected at the inlet side of that particular thing. So it measures the compressor discharge pressure. So there is a TSH5 also. TSH5, this particular TSH5, you can see this compressor has a motor, heavy motor. This M stands for motor, and on that particular motor there is a TSH5. This TSH5 measures the temperature of motor bearing. So this is because this motor is running fast. So running this motor is very important part of compressor. So their motor bearing or winding temperature is required to be measured. So this measures the winding temperature or bearing temperature of the motor. Then we can see that there are many temperatures controllers are also there. So you can see that there is a TIC2 here. TIC2 is what? Temperature indicator and controller. So this temperature indicator and controller is connected to the return water, right? Return water side. This particular is the return water side. So this temperature indicator and controller is also used to control this particular valve connected over here, solenoid valve. You can see there are two outputs for this TIC2. You can see it can be given to this high pressure switch, and then it can be also given to it can be given through high pressure switch to this particular solenoid valve control, and this is also connected to bypass valve. So it can also regulate the flow rate of bypass valve. So bypass valve can be controlled by this temperature controller, and everywhere obviously there is a measurement of temperature. So there is another thing, one more temperature is there, controller is there, TIC1 is also there. You can see here in this particular picture, right side bottom, TIC1 is also there. So what is TIC1? So TIC1 monitors the refrigerated temperature, refrigerated water supply temperature, because this is going to be enters into a building, air handling unit. Okay. So this you can see that it can be used to control this particular valve connected over here, that is flow control of this particular evaporator output. So evaporator output is controlled with the help of this particular TIC1. You can see clearly this closed loop. Okay. Then there is a there are different valves also. This particular TCV2, that is bypass valve, because this is connected in bypass, so that we can call bypass valve. Then you can see that there is a solenoid valves also there. Okay. So solenoid valves are also there. Then there are pressure switches are also there. PSH are, these are pressure switch. These are the alarms, pressure high alarms. Okay, this is temperature high alarm. You can understand from this particular PNID logo also. There is a temperature switch. Okay, there is a temperature switch. There is pressure high alarm. There is a temperature high alarm. There is a pressure switch. Then you can see here the pressure indicator is also there, and pressure indicator. You can also see there is a RD type of thing. So RD means the roof drain. So it can be a roof drain type of arrangement is also there. Then SV means solenoid valves. You can see over here this particular valve is solenoid valve. Yes, many things now we get it clear from their notations. Now we can easily understand how many things are there in a particular system. Now one by one, if we discuss this particular control system, now you can see, for example, if I again discard this particular diagram, yes, I will show you again. Okay, when we focus on one particular loop, for example this, so you can see that in this particular loop, the pump is connected, the output of the pump is enters into the evaporator. So this is the entrance from the building, right? This particular water is enters from the building outlet. This enters into evaporator. In this, the temperature is get measured, and based on the temperature measurement, what happen? Either de-superheater output is controlled, one thing. Second, the hot gas bypass wall is get controlled. So with the help of this TIC2, two types of objectives are achieved. In one objective, it controls the de-superheater output. This is de-superheater. So de-superheater output that enters into this wall. Okay, so that is control, one thing. And second control is it also controls the hot gas that is bypass. Okay, hot gas bypass. So with the help of this PCV2. Okay, so these two types of control can be achieved with this. In these two, this particular wall is different. This particular wall is different. So maybe this is solenoid type wall, or maybe this may be pneumatic type of wall, and there may be conversion in between that solid pressure in this particular electric to pneumatic and that. So this is what about this temperature loop. Okay, then we can say that in this particular site, outlet site, again the temperature is measured by this TIC1 here, TIC1, and the set point is also mentioned over here for this particular temperature, that is 4.4 degrees Celsius. Then this output, then the output of this controller is used to control the discharge rate of the evaporator. So evaporator discharges the vapors to the compressor. Evaporator discharges the vapor to the compressor, and that rate is get controlled using this particular valve. And in the same, the limit switches are also connected over there. So what is the purpose of this XLS limit switch? That detects the suction vane, whether that is open or closed. If the suction vane is open, then what action is taken, that is required to know. And when the suction vane is closed, what action is required to do. So based on that limit switch, the action is taken by the controller, that is this TIC1. So these two particular loops are closed loop. I can observe over here in this control system diagram. In other part, I can observe that there is a measurement part. You can see here in this particular flow get measured, and there is an indication also, alarm indications also, and it goes to the section 1. Okay, it goes to section 1, and this particular limit switch also goes to it goes to controller 1. Actually, section 1 means controller 1. This also goes to controller 1. So based on the inlet flow rate and based on this suction vane limit switch, the action can be taken by this controller. So then there is no closed loop found. Here on the top side, you can see that the pressure is get indicated over here, and there's a pressure switch also connected, and based on the pressure switch also it is connected to the interlock. Okay, so now what I want to say is that there are three types of interlock. This meaning of this particular symbol is interlock. Okay, so I can say this is also interlock symbol, this is also interlock 1, then this is also interlock 1, and yes, mainly interlock 1 is shown in this diagram. Yes, you can see here there is a logic for this particular interlock. So how, yes, one interlock is mentioned here, that is interlock 3, and total 3 interlocks are there in this particular chiller control, 1, 2, 3. So mainly interlock 1 is very important. You can see there are many places that output is going to the interlock 1, and 2 and 3, yes, some other purpose may be there for that interlock 2 and 3. That is also I have mentioned somewhere. Yes, safety interlocks. So this safety interlocks, that is operating safety in figure, is guaranteed by number of interlocks. The first interlock system prevents the compressor motor from being started when one or more of the below listed condition exist. Okay, means the interlocks are connected to the compressor motor, either the motor is on or off. Okay, so if one of the or more of the following listed condition exist, so what happen, obviously the compressor will get turned off, and it also stop the compressor if any except the first condition listed below occurs while the compressor is running. For example, if the compressor is also running, at that time also it get stopped suddenly. So what are that condition? So the first condition is that the suction vane is open. If the suction vane is open, and that can be detected by limit switch XLS1 that we already introduced, suddenly the compressor motor gets stopped. The second interlock connected to this compressor motor is that the refrigerator water temperature. The refrigerator water temperature is dangerously low. For example, it going to approaching towards freezing level, right now, that can be detected by temperature sensor. Then suddenly the compressor motor is turned off. And another interlock is connected to refrigerator water flow. Yes, all they are connected to the motor control. When the refrigerator water flow is low, yes, that is also the alarming condition measured by FSL3, then also the motor is off. Then, for example, if the evaporator temperature has dropped near the freezing point measured by TSL7, then also the motor is off. Another interlock is connected when the compressor discharge pressure, is high, indicated by PSH4, then also the motor is turned off. And finally, the temperature of the motor bearing or winding, if it is high, then that can be detected by PSH5, then also the motor will be suddenly turned off. So these are the interlock 1, and interlock 1 is based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, means 6 to more than that. Yes, also some of the conditions are there. Lubricating oil pressure if low, then also the motor is off, but that is not shown in the diagram. The second interlock system guarantees that the following piece of equipment are started or are ready running upon the starting of the compressor. Yes, when the compressor is going to be start, the refrigerator water pump is on, then or lubricating oil pump is on, then water to lubricating oil cooler. All these some things are not mentioned in the diagram, but yes, these conditions are connected to interlock 2. And final interlock, that is the third interlock, usually ensures that the suction vane is completely closed when the compressor is stopped. It finally again ensures about the suction vane. So this is about today's control part of the chiller system.